Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Tiffany Anderson, the minister of this church, and my pronouns are she and her. How wonderful is it for me to be with you all today? Yeah, I'm glad you're happy too. We'd love it if you'd rise in body or spirit to start our time together with our opening hymn, Love Will Guide Us. It's on the screens. It's hymn number 131 in the gray hymnal. Worship is To Pause on the Journey by Linda Hart. Every day is a new start. Every year, a beginning, or so we'd like to believe. And we don't know, can't anticipate where we will go, what will happen, what delights await, what heartbreaks will tear us open, the paths unexpected that open before us. Even knowing that we lean our lives in particular ways, focus on particular moments, incline our attention to what is in our hearts and lives and hands to offer. We know for sure that ours is in the going, finding what is on the path and off the path, in giving and creating what we can. We come here amidst the discoveries and delights, the woes and worries, to find a moment, to connect, to pause on the journey in gratitude and in sorrow. It is good to be together. Please sit with us in silence as we center ourselves.
I'm Wanda, and I'm your service leader this morning. I've had the privilege of seeing your smiling faces for a couple decades now, and it never grows tiresome to me. So I thank you for coming, and I appreciate your involvement. I understand that we all come for encouragement and communication, and you certainly will find that here this morning, so welcome. If you're visiting for the first time, you're especially welcome, and we recognize Vonda at the welcome table, and she'll be glad to get you directed to the nursery if you have children from 0 to 6, or you're welcome to stay. Children are in our sanctuary, so Vonda will escort you down there if you so need to. One thing that is not welcome at our church are cell phones. So if you will please turn those off, your speakers and your neighbors will greatly appreciate that gesture. After all, it's the author Lisa Unger that says that cell phones are soul stealers. Thieves of life, she says. We don't want that. Our flaming chalice is a symbol of resistance and sanctuary ever since the Unitarian Service Committee used it as their official seal to provide documentation for refugees fleeing Europe during World War II. What an asset that was for the UU Church. And every week, we also light our chalice to remind us of the work to get free and the needs of the community as we so see it in our networking. While we light our chalice, we invite, and Betty, you might have to retrieve her from the kitchen. Oh, there she, oh, okay. She's retrieved herself. She's helping this morning in addition to her cooking duties, but she is an 8th grader at Indian Trail School in Johnson City, and she is an avid theater going. And as a matter of fact, she's in a play right now at the Jonesboro McKinney Center, the first and last town of Tennessee. So we thank you for doing that for us. Moving in to our story, our time for all ages, we're talking about looking and leaping as we follow the theme of our risk determination, our risk assessment for this morning. So put your listening cap on and see what you hear about looking and leaping. And I'm joined by a cast here. I'm joined by Fortuna, Felicia, and Aunt Ray. Here we are. Once upon a time, there were twin sisters, Fortuna and Felicia, and they were trapeze artists.
Well, we're not trapeze artists quite yet.
But we were born for the trapeze. We're part of the fabulous Flying Falcos.
You see, our entire family is part of the Trapeze Act. Our parents, our older brothers and sisters, even Grandma and Grandpa were once part of the act before they retired.
And we are finally old enough to be trained in our family traditions. I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You see, Fortuna and Felicia had just celebrated their 12th birthday. And that was the magic time to start training for the Flying Falcos. But the two sisters did not see quite eye to eye, and they had a different opinion about the family business.
Look, I understand that this is the family business and all, but what if this just isn't for me? The idea of being way up there in the sky, leaping from one bar to another, trusting other people to catch me. This just doesn't seem like a very healthy lifestyle. After all, it's a long way down.
But don't you want to fly?
No.
I've been watching all the rest of our family soar through the air since I can remember. What an amazing feeling that will be.
No.
I don't think I can just wait even 1 second longer. If Aunt Faye isn't going to show up and give us our first lesson, I'm just going to do it myself. I've been waiting and watching everyone else do it for years. I'm just going to do it.
No.
And with that, Felicia began climbing the ladder to the first platform and the first set of trapeze bars.
Felicia, get down from there! You're going to hurt yourself!
No, I will not. I'm not a chicken like you.
I am not a chicken, I'm just being sensible. And I don't want you to hurt yourself.
Fortunately for Felicia and Fortuna, in comes Aunt Faye.
Now, girls, what's all this fuss about? Felicia, get down here. There's so much we need to talk about before we just leap off the first platform.
Like what? Let's do this.
You know, Aunt Faye, I don't think this is for me. It's just too dangerous. Isn't there like, an accountant side of the family business somewhere?
My dear Fortuna, I understand your nerves, but you might feel differently once I show you something. Come here.
Aunt Faye led Fortuna and Felicia to a huge cluster of ropes that were lying under the platform.
Believe it or not, this is the most important piece of equipment we have as trapeze artists.
What, a bunch of ropes?
Here, take this end here and pull it through that hook. And Fortuna, you take this bit here and do the same on the other side.
And slowly and carefully, Fortuna and Felicia followed their aunt's instructions until all the ropes were connected and laid out in a grid.
Do you see what this is now?
Is that, a safety net?
That's right. The fabulous flying falcos always use a safety net.
Safety nets are for losers.
My dear niece, that's not kind. And you don't know what you're talking about. I know you're excited to fly, but without that safety net, even one mistake would mean... Bye, Felicia. It's easier to be brave when we know that there's a safety net if something goes wrong. You'll see. Our very first lesson is simple. We're going to climb up to the first platform, completely ignore all the bars and ropes and the tricks we want to try, and we're just going to jump out into the air and let our safety net catch us.
And with that, Aunt Faye climbed the ladder and leaped out into the air and then fell down straight into the middle of the safety net.
Okay, now it's your turn.
Felicia made her first leap without any trouble, but Fortuna needed a little more time.
You
can do it, Fortuna!
And with a terrified shriek, Fortuna leaped off the platform. For a moment, she felt weightless, moving through the air, and then the pull of gravity pulled her down, and she felt a rush of adrenaline before landing in the safety net, just like Faye and just like Felicia had done.
Wasn't that fun?
You know it actually was. It was really scary making that first leap, but now that I've tried out the safety net, I know that even if I fall, I'll be caught. I'm feeling a lot braver.
Well, I guess it is easier to be brave when we have that safety net.
And with that was just the beginning of Fortuna and Felicia's career with the fabulous flying falcos, even if that's the end of our story.
It was a lot of fun for me to actually sit and watch rather than play today. Thank you so much, you guys. I want to invite all of us to say our vision statement together as we move into the next part. It should be in our bulletin. Ooh, and I just lost my ear mic. I need to stop messing with my hair. Okay, here we go. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. The first time I ever set foot in this congregation, I was just another visitor. I was a member of a Unitarian Universalist church in Florida, but I was up in Roan Mountain visiting my parents. And I figured I might as well drive down the mountain on Sunday morning to see what Unitarian Universalists do in other places. Throughout the years, my relationship with this congregation has evolved, and now I'm in my 5th year here as your settled minister. In a lot of ways, it doesn't seem like 5 years. And I can tell you that a lot of times I just can't believe my luck. I am really living my dream by serving here, and it's so much more than I could have imagined. Even if sometimes I do feel like Felicia and Fortuna jumping off into the air, getting ready for that safety net to catch me. I feel so honored to be learning and growing right alongside this congregation. Every Sunday as we gather here and throughout the week as I work with all of our leaders on all of the other things we do here, I'm in awe about how we really mean this vision statement that you all developed years before I came here. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. I feel like what we are doing really matters here. Like we're not some dusty relic of another time, but that what we're doing is actually relevant to the needs of the world today. And it's a tremendous honor to serve alongside all of you. I hope that if you can, you'll make a pledge for this upcoming year so that we all understand how much money we have to work with, so we can keep on sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. It's especially joyful for me, to witness our creativity as a community. And so today's special music is a unique treat. Brooklyn has put together her own song, talking about what it means to her to be part of our community here.
Who want to make good choices and live their lives well. I want to lead with truth and empathy and be the change I want to see. Take me to the place that feels like home, to the place I'm never alone. To my chosen family, we walk hand in hand, where I don't change who I am. Take me where there's only love, where I am always enough, where people are people and we all come first. Please, won't you take me to church? I wanna love my neighbor no matter what. Live a life worth living. Give it all I got. Speak my morals, stand in unity, and care for this world and our community. We light the flame where the days feel long, sing our truth the place that feels like home, to the place I'm never alone, to the family that holds my hand, where I don't have to change who I am. Take me where there's only love, where I am always enough, where people are people and we all come first. Please won't you take me to church? Take me where there's only love. Take me home to church.
With that gift, please join me in meditation, contemplation, and prayer. We would like to carry on this quiet and contemplative energy all the way through until we sing our meditative hymn, Spirit of Life. So I invite you to avoid having side conversations and checking your phone during this time. And breathe with me. Breathe in the Spirit of life. In our religious diversity, where some believe in a personal God and some believe in no deity at all, but in the power of our gathered community, and some just fall into the sense of mystery that gives us life, in all this diversity, we care for each other deeply and set aside this time for our joys and our sorrows. We imagine light and joy surrounding the students of Dobbins Bennett who walked out in protest this week. We pray that they are protected and empowered and supported. We celebrate with gratitude warmer weather, even as it comes with the drizzle, persistent crocus, and the rising of hope that comes with every spring. We celebrate with gratitude each person who has shown us that empathy and compassion still live in this land. We celebrate with Cindy Ellis that her grandson has made it safely to his flight school in North Carolina to embark on his new journey. And we celebrate with Cindy Ellis that her husband has joined her this morning for church. And there's so much on our hearts today. We imagine a protective light surrounding those detained this week, and especially those who are local, that we are connected to. We share concerns with Cindy Ellis for her Aunt Linda and Aunt Mary Dean, who have health issues. We pray for the family of Ed Kelly, a former church member who passed away recently. We imagine a healing light around 2 church members who were hospitalized in January, Michael Jones for surgery, Neil Sanders for a heart attack, both recovering and doing well. And as our concerns and our gratitudes intertwine, we say thank you that they are well, and thank you for the health of everybody here. We send light and solidarity to people who are separated from their families, for parents who are worried about their children, for all people everywhere struck by tragedy who don't know where to turn. We visualize a softening and changing of hearts a return to the roots of humanity to all who have found themselves being used as tools of harm and injustice. May they hear the calling, join us, be free. Join us, be free. Whoever's out there listening, or if no one is, we ask for wisdom. Wisdom to know our paths, wisdom to know our work to do, and to know that the vision that will bring us forward with hope, joy, and love dwells within us. We invite any who need to at this time to come to this table to light a candle for your joys or sorrows, or you can raise your hand and I will light a candle for you. And we light our first candle for those who are not in the building with us, but ever in our hearts. we light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
This morning, Icarus, comes to us from the social media platform called Tumblr. And if you're ones like myself who don't live or have association with a 10-year-old, you might not know exactly what that is, so I haven't been schooled by that younger generation. But it's an online social media that our Reverend put together for us so we can hear from this particular blot one called Crimson Serve Bot. And that was the blog that she made her assessment of Icarus as a transgendered person. So here's her words. For ones of us that might need a refresher in the mythology about Icarus, well, Icarus and his father were imprisoned, and his father, Daedalus, was a master inventor. And he developed wings for both of them so they could fly out of the prison. Well, the problem was that he only had feathers and wax. So it required that he educate Icarus about what to do in order to escape using this invention of wings with melted wax. He said to Icarus, "Now, you can't fly too low because the seawater will destroy your feathers. And you can't fly too high," he says, "because, well, the sun will melt the wax." Icarus didn't listen. He flew too high. And here is this blogger's thought, Crimson Serve-Bot, on that myth. Here's what she says. You ever heard that old chestnut about how most people neglect the part of the story about Icarus where he also had to avoid flying too low, lest the spray of the sea soak his feathers and cause him to fall down and drown? Did you ever think about how different the world would be if he had drowned and died that way instead? If the idiom was, fly too close to the sea, a warning against flying and playing it far too safe, about not stretching your wings, not flying and soaring properly. Did you ever think about how Icarus died because he was happy? What if I told you I wrote, she writes, this blog while thinking about the dangers of being visibly trans versus never trying to transition at all? Happiness followed by a bright, burning end, smacking hard against the concrete ocean versus playing it too safe and never flying high, dooming you to a cold, crushing end from drowning. Icarus.
Thank you, Wanda. Before I leap into the sermon like an untrained 12-year-old trapeze artist, I do want to share a resource with you. In the insert in your bulletin are, on one side, there's definitions associated with risk and concepts around risk discernment. On the other side is a survey, a QR code that links you to a survey from the Social Justice Committee about gauging our interests in various initiatives. If you don't like QR codes, we did already tell you that cell phones are evil, right? If you don't like QR codes, Emily will have some paper copies for you to fill out after the service, and you can take that and engage with the QR code after the service is over. Okay. When I was a kid, I went through a phase where I was absolutely terrified of jellyfish. This was unfortunate because this was during a time when just about every family vacation we took was a trip to Grandma's beach house. Our family spent hours walking on the beach, especially during low tide when the ocean would recede and the treasures of the beach would be revealed. Shells, crab traps, tide pools, interesting scuttling little creatures hiding in clumps of seaweed. We would explore it all, but I would be on high alert the entire time because I was just sure that there was a jellyfish lurking somewhere ready to sting me. I had never been stung by a jellyfish, but knew several people who had. It sounded in my child's mind like the worst thing in the world that could happen to me. A jellyfish was lurking in every tide pool, no matter how shallow. Even the shallowest, clearest tide pools might be concealing a translucent terror within. So I would jump over every puddle of water. Larger tide pools would start a fight with the rest of the family. Everyone else wanted to wade through the tide pool. I wanted to go around the tide pool. It was no way to enjoy the beach. But for me, at least during that particular summer, the risk of actually getting in the water felt too great. In my mind, outside of any other input besides my very frustrated parents, the risk of being stung by a jellyfish did not feel worth the reward of getting my feet wet or discovering new things in the pools. I had a low risk tolerance when it came to jellyfish. Understanding our risk-related definitions are important, so they're in the bulletin. And I'm going to refer to a few now. In this case, regardless of any actual risk to myself, my perceived risk, which is defined by the likelihood and severity of my consequences, my perceived consequences, that existed in my mind in a very high level. My risk tolerance as an anxious oldish child who had heard one too many jellyfish sting horror stories was very low. I don't know what helped me get over my fear. What changed my risk assessment of the situation? I've still never been stung by a jellyfish, and I still never want to be. But life experience has helped me understand that the odds of encountering a jellyfish in a very shallow tide pool are actually very low. And I also grew in my understanding that the consequences of getting stung are unpleasant, but also something that I can live with if it happened. It's not that the chances of getting stung are zero, but that they're low enough, and that is coupled with the idea that the impact of getting stung, should the worst happen, is something that I could live with, even though I would definitely not enjoy it. When I was a young child, This was just the way I was built. Most risks of any kind felt unacceptable. In a lot of ways, I experienced a phase in life where avoiding pain was more important to me than actually living my life. For me, what eventually changed this risk aversion was experience. From exploring Bourbon Street in New Orleans for the very first time, something that was terrifying to me, but it ended up being a lot of fun, to discovering that I actually enjoy the rush of adrenaline associated with rock climbing and rappelling. I've learned that many risks are actually worth taking, and that a fuller life often lies on the other side of my fear. Can you remember a time that you were really afraid to do something? You took that risk and it paid off for you in some sort of way? Conversely, can you remember a time where you maybe did not thoroughly consider the risks involved in something and did not realize you needed to be a little more cautious until it was too late? Hopefully that didn't end with parents bringing bail money, but you know. Both of these instances are experiences that shape our relationship with risk. We all have different experiences. We all have different goals, desires, and dreams in life, and these shape our individual relationships with risk. And we also all have different identities that influence our relationship with risk. People of color, visibly queer people, our elders, and our children can be more at risk when we're talking in terms of social action-oriented risks like demonstrations and civil disobedience. We don't all exist in the same way in this world. We aren't all treated the same way by this world, and therefore our real risks are different for each of us. Within this diversity, as we are each working on our own relationship with risks, learning and growing as we take a risk and see how it goes, we are also working on our relationship with risk collectively as a church. And just like we can grow as individuals by taking the right kind of risk and learning from them, we can grow as a community by doing the same here. But of course, finding that risk-taking sweet spot is harder when we're trying to figure out what's best for 160 plus people rather than just for our individual selves. And some tricks of the brain add additional complications to our ability to assess our congregation's risk tolerances. Specifically, confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the very human tendency to subconsciously look for evidence that supports the opinions that we already hold. It's a mental filter. Since our mind's capacity cannot hold every piece of information that comes in through our senses, we usually end up only retaining what supports our views that we already hold. This is just a human thing. It's not a moral judgment on anyone. And so because we as a whole, as a church, have not really had a conversation about how much risk we are willing to take, when, how, and for what reasons, we often assume that the majority of the people here feel just like we do. So on one hand, people who are hardcore social justice folks feel that every cause and every action is a no-brainer. And on the other hand, people who have experienced harassment, danger, and vandalism in this church, especially in decades past, feel that we have an obligation to not poke the hornet's nest too often or too hard in order to keep our community safe and not become a target. And because of the way that confirmation bias works, everyone feels that their personal opinion is the one held by the majority. The great news is that we don't have to just keep on living in confirmation bias land. That's why we're doing this risk discernment workshop after church, where we can stop guessing what our community wants and needs and actually find out by asking, by having a conversation about it. We are always free to take meaningful actions as individuals. That's the right of conscience. It's an important part of what we do here at church, is give people the support and energy to act as individuals on their own conscience. And we can be more powerful when we agree to take an action together, which we can do when we listen to each other and have a deeper understanding of what we need and want as a whole. More than that, engaging in this process of truly trying to understand each other is going to help our community to grow in connection to each other. To quote the prayer of St. Francis, "Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love." This is the heart of community. Can we enter a time of risk discernment with the clearest intention to understand each other? Part of that practice to seek understanding is to understand the particular stories of this people and place, to understand the threats and vandalism of decades past that have signified to this congregation that being visibly religiously liberal in the Tri-Cities is an actual risk. And to understand the perspective of the most vulnerable among us that remind us that to do nothing during a time when fascism is on the rise is also a giant risk, as they are the ones who will reap the real consequences of continuing down a path of least resistance that does not change the violence and oppression of these times. Because that's the other side of the equation. Can we risk living in a world where atrocities go unchecked? Can we risk becoming bystanders when something truly awful is happening? What are the implications of our values that say that all are worthy of love and dignity? What are the implications of our values that say that our lives are interconnected and intertwined to the point that when something horrible happens to one of us, there is a ripple effect that touches all of us? Like the Icarus story, there's a cost to flying too high, but there is a cost to flying too low as well. Because the greatest tragedy might be to never take a risk and therefore never live our lives authentically and joyfully. Somewhere between absolute recklessness and staying inside hiding all day long is a sweet spot where we can live our best lives. And we are here to live. My colleague Sadie Lansdale, when talking about her own journey to find hope and purpose in these challenging times, says this: "Much is yet possible. Very little is certain, and all of it matters." Václav Havel says it this way: "Hope is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something is worth doing, no matter how it turns out." What are our things that are worth doing, no matter how they turn out? I hope that each of us are seeking and finding and doing those things, and I know it will be different for each of us. This week, about 50 Dobbins-Bennett High School students found one of their things worth doing as they walked out of school in protest of ICE's presence in Kingsport this week. They decided that the possibility of getting expelled and not being able to go to prom was worth doing, no matter how it turned out. Largely because their eyes weren't on their own very real cost, but on the larger cost for the 29 people detained by ICE in Sullivan County this week. What are our things that are worth doing no matter how they turn out? I hope that we are seeking and finding those things. And I hope that by going through this risk discernment workshop after church today, that we find our collective shared things worth doing as well. That as each of us are working out our own personal sweet spot between risk and caution, that we as a church do the same. Unitarian Universalists are part of a legacy of world changers, and these ancestors are calling us to join them in their legacy of social change. There's a living tradition that is calling us and supporting us and want us to join them in our work. Olympia Brown, the first woman to be ordained in any Christian denomination, which was Universalism, calls us to join her. James Reeb and Viola Lioso, Unitarian Universalists who risked it all during the civil rights era, invite us to practice discernment with deep sincerity, knowing that it could change everything in our lives. Theodore Parker, Lydia Marie Child, and William Ellery Channing, key Unitarian and Universalist figures in the movement to end slavery in the United States, invite us to really contemplate what our values tell us about our situation, just as theirs did so many years ago. There's many ways to do our parts, and being on the front lines is only one of them. But it's clear to any student of history that there are things worth doing no matter how it turns out, because that's what our principles, values, and legacy are calling us to. And we don't have to figure it all out today. But let's take a meaningful step toward understanding what is ours to do as a community. I'll tell you the truth, y'all. This world that we're living in wasn't anything I was expecting. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. But now that I'm here and I'm seeing who is in this with me, you all in this with me, I'm really glad that we're going to figure it out together.
We're with you.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
There's an old proverb. All right, let's clap for you guys. There's an old proverb. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So let's go far together. It will likely stretch us all in different ways. We will likely all grow from the blessings and the challenges that we experience. So may we be blessed in listening to one another. May we grow in our understanding of each other. And may we find our sweet spots where we encounter life itself in great abundance.
We extinguish our chalice, but we never put out the light that signifies our support and encouragement to each other, the reasons that we are here weekly. This reading is called Blessed is the Path. Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. Truly, blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. May you go in peace. Amen. Before you dash out for our lunch and our workshop, I have some announcements, so keep listening. Thank you for being here today, and our youth group is preparing a hot potato bar for us as their annual fundraiser. And after that, we're going to have our Risk Discernment workshop from 1 to 3. The potato bar is $5, and they will be glad to serve that up to you in the kitchen. And secondly, anyone interested in a covenant group called the History of UU, and I can tell you that it doesn't matter how long you've been a member, that there is always something to learn in that group. So if you are interested in that, it's on a Tuesday, and there's probably more places available for that. So if you're interested in that covenant group, it's uuhistory@hvuuc.org. So avail yourself upon that. It's a 6-session, a very short group. And then if you have a middle schooler who would like to have a more comprehensive and inclusive look at sexuality education, then you found the place. Classes start March the 1st, and spots are limited, and you can sign up through our Director of Religious Education, Jess. I think I saw her this morning, and you can do that online if you are so moved to have that education. Something new is the men's group, and they're going to gather this Wednesday from 6 to 8. They're going to be a social engagement and a recognizing of companionship. Indoor games will be available, but most importantly, along with that fellowship, there's going to be pizza. You can't beat that. Starting out the third Wednesday monthly, so if you're interested and identify as males, you are welcome there. So I think Doug is here this morning. If you have more questions, he'll be glad to answer those for you. And lastly, if you are interested in any of our activities, we will find those on our website. Scroll down under events and announcements, and you will be blessed to hear all of our service information there. So avail yourself in that. Our closing hymn is number 1017. We are building a new way. At this point, we will collect our offering. If you have a pledge, you can put that in there. And our pledges are how we develop our current budget. So we are needing you to let us know how that's going to work for us for the coming year. So please put your pledge there. Or if you are just dropping loose money in the plate, we are grateful as well. So let your offering begin. Hymn number 1017, we are building a new way.
generosity this week and every week. May your gifts nurture our shared ministry and the world that we have been called to love. Baked potatoes are that way. Workshop starts at 1, and here's our benediction. May justice lead us to the calling of this moment. May wonder meet us right where we're at. May we discover our collaborators and our companions, and may love guide us on this journey of transformation. Blessed be, amen, and go in peace.
Yeah.